So thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to talk all things X races, and for that I have the lovely Emma. Now it just come out, and that was my error when I sent it through to Vibe Equestrian, because I do believe you had a TikTok account with your sister, and that's where the name's being pulled from.
Yeah. My sister and I made an account back in like when lockdown first happened last year, and because it's Emma and Abby, so Abby went first, I think. So yeah, but I'm Emma, and I've just changed my name because on my work account it's my boss's name to make it even more confusing.
Confuse us even more. It's crazy.
Sorry guys, it is me though, Emma.
So I came across Emma's account on Instagram and absolutely fell in love with this little X racer that Emma has bought, which he's basically just the king of the squeaks, shall we say. Crunchie is, he lightens up my day, might I say. So how did you come to own the wonderful Crunchie?
So to be fair, I've wanted an X racehorse for probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, but I had a little Irish sports horse for about 8 years, and I just couldn't afford to have two. I tried to have two at one point, but it just wasn't doable. So anyway, my little X racehorse went back to her owner when lockdown happened, and I was furloughed for a good 6 months, and I just thought, now's a good time to look for a new horse. And I was just saying to you, I was looking at lots of different horses, and then I did look at a few X racers years and years ago, but never found the right one. Tried a few, had a couple vetted, they didn't pass, and then Crunchie was a friend of a friend's horse who was sold to someone, but she found him too much. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll go look at him, it's fine. And when I turned up to, as you do, turned up to this stable yard, and he was all sunburnt, bless him. It wasn't the other owner's fault, but she just forgot to put sun cream. It was all chapped on his white face, and he hadn't done much. He had really bad anxiety, he was going mental in the stable, and she walked him around for a bit, and he did calm down. And then I was like, yeah, I quite like him. Didn't ride him, didn't vet him. And just like, I've looked at enough now. So yeah, I think it was very lucky that he's so far, fingers crossed, he's turned out okay. But yeah, so he was literally only half an hour away down the road, and got him in August last year, turned him away for about 3 months just to be a horse and enjoy the summer grass that had been growing.
That's an interesting point. So I think it is kind of split as to whether, when you get an X racer, do you turn them away for a couple of months, or do you fetch them straight back into work? I did the same. So yeah. I got Reg first, and then we got Mo. And Mo had a good 6 months in the field just to grow up because he was so young. Mm-hmm. But I did with Reg, I turned him away for probably 4 to 6 weeks just to think what we've done more than anything. But did you find that kind of beneficial to do that for him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he retired, well, I say retired, he never actually made it to the racetracks. He was in training, and apparently he was, like he is now, an absolute nutcase when he wants to be, and would be like flat out galloping, training of the others, and then would just stop apparently, and the others would just carry on. He'd be like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. So yeah, he never actually made the racetracks. He retired from training in March 2020. This other girl bought him, and then I got him August time, and so he'd already had a while turned away anyway. But I just thought, oh, he's new field, everything, and I wanted, as you say, kind of wanted to give myself a few months just to think about what I just bought. And we luckily loaned Mr. Cobb Storm, so they turned out in the field together, and I did a bit of groundwork and lunging and just fussed about with him really, and just got used to him. And then thought, when it got to about October, November, is when I took the chance of getting on. So yeah, I think it's interesting though, because we follow quite a lot of X racers, I think both you and I, and there's such a mixed bag. Some people literally buy them straight off the tracks and they're on, and these horses are incredible. Whereas I think some of them do benefit from a bit of time, especially the younger ones, because they don't really get childhood, do they?
No, I think Reg benefited. He did make it into racing, so he's got a couple of races on his card, and he wasn't very successful. Reg is Reg, and if you ever meet him one day, he is the most laid back thoroughbred in the world. We sit at one day events and they're like, are you sure that horse can go across country? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry. He will go at some point. But he's still laid back, so there was no surprise that he was slow. But he had still been kind of in that racing routine. And Reg has got vices from being in that racing world. So I think for him it was just a little bit like, switch your brain off for a bit, mate. And just
I think it's important.
Definitely, yeah. And then with Mo, he never even made it to training, so he's like he's like failure from the start, was Moses. So he just needed to grow up. He was very, very, and still is a little bit immature.
Yeah. I think that's the
so I
thing,
think
like I forget that he's literally 4. Like if you follow me, you'll see I'm always like, oh, I had a really good day, oh, I had a really bad day, I had a really good day, really bad day. But I'm actually like any other horse at this age would just be broken in as well. So yeah, we forget because I've had the saddle chucked on from the age of 2-3-year-old. We just think they're going to be amazing straight away. But there's so much work to put in.
Oh, so much. What was he like then when you first took that plunge to decide, right, I'm gonna start the rebacking process?
I think he's a funny horse because once he's confident, he then like the squeaky side comes out and he'd be like, no, I don't like it. But when he's a bit worried about something, he really goes into himself. So even like the first time we took him to the vets to have a dental checkup, he literally stood there, like didn't move. Like I was like, oh, brilliant, loaded first time, such a lovely horse, so calm. And then the second trip, which was an away lesson, he was like a fire breathing dragon. He's like, well, I've done this once, now I'm gonna let my inner self come out. So when I first sat on him, I'd done like literally putting a saddle on him for about a month, and he was fine because pretty used to it. And I was like, right, it's a nice day, I'm gonna get on. And he was perfect. I only sat on him for like 10 minutes and walked around and around and got off again. But he was so good. And I was like, oh, this is lovely. But yeah, and it wasn't until probably, to be fair, it wasn't until the spring grass came through and I sort of got his work going since sort of March time that those squeaks and mental side has shown. But it's more, I think he's just very happy. It's not nasty, but yeah.
I think he just looks like he loves life. He's just absolutely enjoying life, whatever that may be, whether you're on his back or not. He's kind of squeaking away, isn't he? Just
does.
You know that
I bore everyone with all my constant videos of him squeaking and bucking.
It's a definite must. Everybody must check out Emma's account just to get the squeaks for the day, because it just cheers you up endlessly, thinking, oh my goodness, he's so sweet. But yeah, I think I forget with him, he's still quite young, isn't he?
Yeah, he only turned 4 at the end of March, so he's 4 and 3 months or so it's not old. How old's Mo when you turned 4? A few weeks after, didn't he?
He turned 4 on April the 26th.
Oh, bless him. He's a month younger than Crunchie, because Crunchie is March 23rd. So yeah. But you're doing really well with him, really well.
I did fall off Mo the other. I forget. I think we're having Reg now and working him, and he's been really good and he's doing really well at the minute. But then you get on, I forget that Mo is 4. And that I fell off for a very silly thing, that I pulled him up to the mountain block and he'd moved away from it. Now with Reg, I can kind of vault on, and Reg is like, okay, Mo, you can't do that with, because Mo decided to have a like flying booking fit to say, oh no, we don't do that. So yeah, I have to pull myself back a little bit, but it's nice that I've got the 2. I think with Mo, otherwise it just seems, and I'm sure you'll kind of feel like this, it seems like it takes forever. You know, like it's little steps with Mo every day.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think that's where I go wrong sometimes. I mean, I'm not a professional. I've like done most of, when my old horse did pretty much all on my own, and like I've had like lessons obviously throughout my riding career, but I don't have like weekly lessons and stuff. So I'm sort of taking it as it comes. If I do something wrong, I'm like, well, I won't do that next time, and we learn from it. And like today, like he was brilliant today until we're doing canter transitions at the moment. It was really good because I'd done some yesterday and he was getting it, he was understanding it. So I was like, right, we'll do it again today. But it was boiling hot. There was a tractor zooming around the field behind, and he got the first 2 lovely. Like, she came to the corner, I sat, put my leg on, and off we went. And my mum was like, yeah. So my mum's like my non-paying instructor.
Oh.
So I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And we carried on trying. I think I just not over-faced him, but I think I just sort of wound him up a bit, kept going, and then he was squeaking, and then he was bucking. But then I got off, and I'm not gonna lie, I did have a few tears. But you kind of learn from that, don't you? Then I'm like, well, tomorrow if it goes wrong, we just come back to walk and we start again, and you learn from it. So yeah, I need to invest in some more lessons as well. But
it was the best thing I did with Reg, because he, like I said, he had time off in the field. He's now 7, so I've had him 18 months going on now. And when I first started backing him, he wouldn't even walk out the yard. He was so backward thinking, he was so nappy. And you know, you just get to this point where you think, I need to school him properly, and I can't do it by myself. So I did invest in some, and I've still invested in some coaching going forward with him. But then that has helped me with Mo, because then you can kind of use that experience get from them and then put it on the younger ones. I think if you forget, it's just slow. It's just everyday, repetitive, consistent, patient work with them. And it is frustrating, and I've cried many tears.
I know, you feel so silly, don't you? But like, I stopped and I was okay, and Mum was like, "Oh well, we'll try again tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh, it's just so rubbish because he was so good yesterday." But like, as you say, like, you forget that they're so young, and
Yeah,
it'll probably be fine tomorrow. But yeah, it's just swings and roundabouts.
it is, and they've had, they've had quite a lot of and I think that's a good thing with the X racers, is that they do have a lot of experience of a lot of different things from a very young age. I know there's
Definitely.
debate, there'll be always debates on actually, do they break them too young, blah blah blah, and everybody will have an opinion on that, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I think it does give them an understanding of the world. I mean, my two are not necessarily that spooky as such, probably more than Reg, but they load, they stand for the farrier, they have always been particularly.
I think they learn like really good manners at race yards. I think that's one really good thing. Like, they learn from a young age they're not allowed to piss about and be naughty. But yeah, they're all very different as well, and all the race yards are different. Like, a couple I visited, there were some that were like so posh, and honestly, some of the horses I viewed, I was like, I'm not even going near that, because they were just, I mean, it's not their fault, they're fed like ridiculous high protein diets to race, aren't they? But they were like fire breathing dragons. With other ones, because where Crunchie is from, I didn't actually view him there, but because my friend rehomes race horses, I went with her once to pick up a horse, and it was like the training yard, so there were little babies there, and they're all really lovely, and they haven't quite had all the high energy food yet. So it is the feed as well that makes them a bit more like different. But yeah, I think they're all very different horses as well. And Crunchie's not that spooky, but if he decides something has to be spooky, then we have to have a tantrum, and you can't tell him off either. I mean, not that I ever tell them off, but if I was like, Crunchie, he's like, like, kicks out again.
Absolutely. I learned this very early with Reg. It's kind of like, if you push him to the point where he decides he's not going to do something, if you continue to try and push him, he gets worse.
Yeah.
So you are always kind of go, right, chill out, Shell, because it can get you frustrated, can't it? Just bloody walk past the drain on the floor, and you just go, right, mate, just check it out, just take your time. And he'd go, oh, okay then, and then we kind of walk on and we get on with it. So yeah, they're all very, very different.
Yeah.
What would you say is kind of been the worst thing so far then? About, start on the negative, we'll move to the positive.
I think, to be fair, the worst thing is the fact that, well, again, because he didn't actually race, I've been lucky that, I mean, there's a lot of ex-race horse people I follow who their horse can't even touch like a grass verge about wanting to gallop, because that's all they've learned to do. So I'm lucky in the sense that he hasn't got that trait in him. But I think the worst thing, as you say, is that they're not very well schooled, and you think they're going to be well schooled, and you get on, and you've got, to be fair, Crunchie isn't that unbalanced. He's got a very nice balanced paces, but the steering at first was horrific. And I'm getting on thinking I'm just schooling like I always used to, and I've got like shoulders coming out, legs coming out, head over here. And we've had the odd like absolute temper tantrum out on a hack, which again is not because he's scared of traffic or scared of anything in particular. He just is a really big character that likes to show off. And I think actually also, I think the worst thing probably is the separation anxiety, and the fact that he doesn't like to be on his own, which so many racehorses have, because of the fact that all they ever do is train in a herd and go out as a herd and race in a herd. So we can't, like, I was poo picking last night actually, and we have like, it goes around the corner where our water trough is, and Storm the cob like wandered off around the corner to get a drink, and Crunchie like stopped to look and went like galloping around the corner screaming, and like obviously Storm had just gone to get a glass of water. But yeah, so that obviously riding, that's a pain because you can't do an awful lot on your own. But he's getting better, but does make it a bit dangerous sometimes.
I think that's definitely a thoroughbred racing trait, isn't it? So used to being in a group situation that actually they do get big separations. Reg's issue when he wouldn't leave the yard, it was just kind of like, no, my mates are here, I don't want to go out on my own. They're not very, or my two definitely weren't very independent to start off with. I remember going to a training camp at Somerford, and one of the instructors said, oh, typical thoroughbred always needs a friend. And he wasn't wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do though, don't they? It's sad, but like, I mean, they do get over it. I've spoken to a lot of people, and I think Reg, you're always out hacking on him, and he seems okay now.
He's got over it. Yeah, it's just patience again. It was just taking him little steps at a time, and just consistency, and just taking him out every day. And it's still good now to hack on my own, because I like hacking with people, because I'm a social person. I like to speak to people, but he gets back, he can suddenly go back into that behavior as well. So every now and again we have to just think, all right, yeah, we've got to go out on his own. just so that he still remembers that he can be quite confident on his own. And he like when we went to the one day event last weekend, he was napping in the blooming show jumping warm up, and I had to be led in. Like, embarrassing.
At least he went in though, and he got a clear round, so that was amazing.
I was excited. Yeah, that was amazing. It was amazing. So, what has been then the highlight so far of your journey with Crunch?
I don't know, it's difficult because I was saying to like my friends the other day that the thing when they're so young is like they can do the littlest thing and you're literally beaming for the rest of the day. A bit like yesterday when like I was like, right, we obviously have cantered him, but I was like, we're going to start teaching him the proper aid, and we're going to canter into a corner, and we're going to canter when we're told, and we're not just going to canter off down the long side. And he started to get it, and he was excited, and he was going wee, like squealing whilst he's doing it, but he was really happy. And I was like, oh, like it's so nice when you just get the smallest of things. Or like when he started going quite nicely, pulled his teeth out. I was just like, when you finally feel them take the contact and just go, like, it's just, I think it is just small things, like, especially for me at the moment, I've got like, he's very young, so I haven't yet kind of had this giant kind of like, oh, I've done well at a show yet or anything. I mean, I went to one away lesson, I don't know when it was now, a few months ago, and he came off like off the trail. I was thinking, I don't want to get on at this rate. Fortunately, it was a friend, so she like let him just chill out for a long time, then go in the menage. And she's quite a good event rider, so she gave me a lesson, but she was also like, it's cool, Emma, like just take your time. And he calmed down in the end, and he worked like fairly nicely. So that was probably the biggest step we've done so far that I was proud of him for. But at the moment it's just the little things, I think. So, and it's just, I'm just proud of him for kind of stepping up, because he is a funny character. Like, he's confident in the things you wouldn't expect him to be in, and then like the ridiculous things we have to have a full-blown argument about. So what about you? What's your happiest moment at the moment?
Again with Mo, definitely the little things. The little things, kind of like, we're going to stand at the mountain block, and that's a big win. Yay, cake. Reg, oh god, that horse, you know, like, he is my angel of a horse, and just, I never thought I could get so far as I'm not far by any means, but as far as I have with the horse that I bought. So I didn't even view Reg. I don't advocate this at all, but I put an advert out, wanted a horse, kids are grown up, got divorced. I was like, let's go back into riding. This seems like a really good idea. Put an advert out. Somebody contacted me and said, I have an ex-racer. He's rubbish at jumping. He cribs. He's underweight. He's got rain scald. And I was like, how much do you want for him? Cheaper than my cat. That's all I'm going to say. He was very cheap to purchase. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take a punt on it. No vetting, no nothing. Got a lorry, and he got delivered. And then I took delivery of this very bless him, he came off, and I just thought, oh, I don't really know what I've got. Yeah, put him in the field, and he's turned into an absolute, you know, the hard work is paying off. So
he's incredible. Like, every time you post and all the pictures of him, like, honestly, his jump, like, I just think it's amazing. He's
got scope to burn, but he just needs, like you say, they come not schooled at all, so they don't understand why we want, because he still massively struggles because he's still not built up the muscle yet for kind of like show jumping, so the more gymnastic ability. Yeah, he just hasn't got it. So at the moment we're trying to work on building his arse muscles up so that he can kind of cope with that a little bit better. I've had so many with Reg. I don't even know what the highlight is. Maybe the clear round. Let's go the clear round the other week.
I was so happy for you, honestly, because obviously you had a couple of like when you lost that shoe as well. I remember watching your stories being like, no, Jenny.
I was doing a takeover for Vibe as well, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna do one day events and everything else. And I literally like, this is not how one day eventing goes. Well, it probably is. Like, everybody keeps saying that's eventing. That's what happens. Do British eventing because they have a farrier. No, it's not true, actually. But I could have had my shoe put on. So we just had a string of bad luck, and it's not finished yet because we did the clear round, and then I fell off cross country.
What happened? Like, because you said you fell off between fences or something.
Yeah, I don't ever fall off over fences. It's never dramatic. It's never these big falls. He had been doing so well, and he'd gone through, and we got to. My coach Shireen was with me at the time, and she said, as you come out of this bit, don't be complacent at this point. And I was like, okay, I won't be complacent. And guess what? I was feeling so confident. I'm like, he's flying, he's doing amazing. And I became complacent over a little palisade, and spun to go to a fence, and he backed off the fence and he refused. And so I was like, oh shit, spun him quick, and he fell on his arse. So and I hold on for dear life, because I'm thinking, if I hit the ground, this is an E. And then I unfortunately dismounted, but yeah, I got back on and finished it. But it was just one of those frustrating things. That's horses, that's eventing. And did you not say that this is what you want to go into?
Yeah, I mean, because my old mare.
You're a pro eventer from before though, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm sad really, because I had my little mare, bless her, was my sister's best friend's sister's horse. Very confusing. And about when I was I'm 27 now, and I left uni when I was, before uni. So I was like 18, 19, before I started uni. I had a gap year, so I had a year off before I started uni, and I was like, oh, I'll get a horse, like a project horse. And Cleo, or Patsy as I called her, she was offered to me. She was a 6-year-old that had done, she was 10. They bought her as a 6-year-old, done nothing for her for 4 years. And they're like, oh, she sat in a field for 4 years, do you want to just have fun with her? And like, she couldn't even like trot a 20-meter circle. She was awful, she was mental. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll have her 6 months and let her go. Anyway, 8 years later, I still had her. So I took her, I did a lot of unaffiliated and riding club eventing. And I never got like the bottle to do proper BE, because one, like the fees are ridiculous. Two, I was like at uni, and I just thought, oh, like, bless her, my mum, she was like my lifesaver. She looked after them throughout the week for me. So yeah, I just never really got the time to probably do proper BE. But I did a lot of like, unaffiliated and the riding club stuff, and got up to 100. And then I think the biggest thing I did was like an open course, had like 4 novice fences on, which terrified me, but she just bombed around them. So, and she was like amazing across country, but it was the dressage that was just like stress head. So yeah, I think I love dressage. I'm one of those weirdos that likes dressage.
Very strange. Yeah, I hear there are people out there that love dressage. Good. You would be. I can't wait to watch, actually, because I find with the X races, that is the hardest, definitely one of the hardest phases of eventing, because they don't. I'm still working on the elusive contact. Still haven't got it. We're reg, so can't wait.
I think that's where I'm going wrong though, because in my head I'm like, you should be doing this now, Crunchie. And he's just like, I don't know what the spit in my mouth even means.
Yeah, they're so, apparently once they get it, and then they're amazing. But it's so difficult, and you can't necessarily kind of like pin them into. I've had some coaches that have kind of said, you need to pin them into the contact, and Reg were like, no, not
it doesn't work. You need them to like seek the contact and come forward, but it's so much easier said than done. Until they understand. But yeah,
definitely. I should also say out there, if anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat box, and we can answer. We'll do our best to try and answer them in regards to anything X-rays, anything at all, really. The journey is a long, and I think you just have to, for me, I think it's just patience, routine. I don't know whether you're very routined with Crunchie.
I think especially the thoroughbreds, they thrive off work, don't they? Like if you give them a few days off, I mean, Crunchie seems quite happy chilling in the stable in the field, but once he's done a couple of days work, like the next day he's amazing. Like he picks up on it and he actually enjoys his work, I think. But yeah, I mean, he does have his napping phases though at the moment. Like the menage gate is like flying towards it all the time. I'm like, please just go around the circle rather than sideways across the school. But yeah, it's all just trial and error, isn't it? Work out what works for them.
It is. We've got a question in. So, Emma, why? I think it's from Whitescape. Why did you choose to reschool an X-racer?
Well, to be fair, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I think it's just because I remember, I don't even know who the rider was, but I was watching like Burley or Badminton or one of them like years and years ago, and there was like one X-racer that was going around, and the commentators were like, this horse is an X-race horse, look how amazing it is, it's amazing, they've got her this horse this far. And my mum used to have a thoroughbred, it was 7/8 apparently in like Park Clydesdale or something else. But she was like, they're honestly the most clever horses. Like, yeah, I know they're not conventionally necessarily great, like the Irish sports horses have a bit of extra, or the warm does have a bit more oomph in them, but it's just the way they were speaking about this thoroughbred as if it shouldn't be there. And I was like, no, this horse deserves a chance. Like it was covering the ground way more than the sports horses. Like their stride is like amazing. And I just thought, and as like, I think you and I were speaking this today actually, Shelley, like they are cheap, and I couldn't afford to get like an expensive horse. And I thought, if I find like a decent one, then whatever will happen will happen. Like if I want to event and he doesn't want to event, then I'll work out what I'll do with him at that point, although I love him already, so I don't think I could ever get rid of him.
You get attached to them, definitely, don't you?
But
yeah,
it was just the fact as well that I had some time off, and I just thought, like, I love working them, and I love, like, as I said, like, I love the dressage, and I love just to make them a different horse, and I thought it'd be nice just to get a complete project, especially a youngster, and just see what I can do without spending tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, I would say for me it is cost. It's all I could afford, and that sounds really bad. I have an old Welsh mare I've still got, and she's 27, and I just couldn't afford anything other. I wanted to have a go at eventing. I wanted to tick it off the bucket list, and it sounded like a good idea, and it is. I would say it is a good idea.
We're doing amazing. I definitely think you'll be at some 90s by the end of the season.
I think we could get there. Honestly. We keep saying this, don't we? But I honestly. So another question from Carly. Hacking the xray so that's super nervous. Any tips?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, definitely hack with another horse. If your horse is absolutely terrified, don't try and go alone and hurt yourself, because I mean, it depends what they're like, really. There are some that just don't care. Like, I've ridden the odd one for a friend before, and they just hack out fine as if they've done it all the time. But yeah, definitely go with another horse for a while, just so they understand the routes and they get their confidence up. And then if you want to start going alone, I definitely do like just a 10-minute walk if you can. If you've got like a block you can do. And also be confident, because I know, like with Crunchie, weirdly, once they had all these roadworks, literally the moment you left our yard, it's like a slight main road to get to like all the nice country roads, and they had just diggers, like the road was getting dug up, there was cones, traffic lights, and he walked through it absolutely fine. I just put my leg on, he like looked at it all, and he was like, whatever. Then there was something like a boulder had been put in like a gate to stop like cars getting on it, and that apparently we had to have a hissy fit of that, and I was like, just literally gone past. But yeah, it's just confidence in building them up, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I would say the same. I think confidence is key. I think if you're the more confident you are, they can kind of sense it. So it is kind of putting your leg on and going, we're walking past. I think it depends how they react as well. So Reggie in particular just spins. He doesn't do anything exuberant. He just turns around on the spot. And I did exactly the same with what you're saying. I went out with a friend. And I'm doing that with Mo at the minute. We've got lovely Blaze who keeps nannying us up to the top farm and back because he's more exuberant. Just spin. He will be a cracker. So yeah, I think it's just patience, isn't it?
And speak to them as well, because they do listen. Especially Crunchie does. If I tell him he's a good boy, he's like, oh, I am a good boy, and keeps walking. Such a brat.
He does have that look in his face with Crunchie. You can honestly see when he goes.
Yeah, he's got those googly eyes. I love them, but he looks mental.
Definitely. Tilly wants to know, what is your favourite thing to do at home when riding in the week on your X-Racer?
As in like in the school, or just
what's your favourite?
My favourite thing to do is, I like schooling. I mean, I do enjoy hacking, but the lady who comes and rides the cob with me, my mum will ride him at some point, but she decided to break her wrist the other day, so that's not helpful. But when we're not hacking, I like to mix it up in the school, and I like to have a especially because he's young, have a clear aim of what I want to do. I mean, obviously it doesn't always go to plan. Like this morning for me, I just gave up in the end. But if you think, right, we're going to do some trot poles, or we're going to focus on our walk trot transitions, or just tiny little things that doesn't overface them and blow their minds, and yeah, basically.
Oh, what do I like to do when I'm at home? Hacking. I like hacking.
Hacking's good.
I'm lazy. Honestly, I'm super lazy.
But it's great for fitness. It is a good thing to do.
We've got nice hacking. So Abby Green, I'm thinking.
That's my sister.
I nearly named you as. Where would you like Crunchie to be in a year's time?
Abby, who's literally crossed outside the window right now.
That's a good question.
I would like Crunchie. My aim is to, now that he's had his little teeth out and he's getting going again, and you have a few more lessons at home, and then I want to get him to a few more lessons outside of like different arenas, maybe hire somewhere with a friend, because he can be a bit funny schooling with another horse. Even when Storm came in the menage with me the other day, he had a hissy fit. He calmed down, but it's all just new for him. So and I want to try and aim to do a couple of intros by the end of the year, even if it's like winter dressage. So maybe by next year, like this time next year, I'm hoping we'll have done some intros, lots of arena hires, and maybe even like a little 70 show jumping, I reckon, by this year time next year. But who knows if he's still with me. Haven't given up.
No, you'll definitely be there. Definitely the intros. Definitely, I think that's a good goal for this year.
Yeah, I think it is just experience, isn't it, when they're young?
Yeah, just to get them out there as well, and to see different sites, isn't it? That you take for granted a little bit. Take Reg out now, and he's quite used to the environment. I took Mo to we had a desensitization class at the yard, and he was wired. He was kind of like, he thought they'd all be there for him. He was just walking around as if, like he's the big 10 men.
That looked really good though. I like the video you put on of him with the umbrella.
He was getting really brave by that point though. He was kind of like, yeah, I can do it. Okay, so it says, over here in North America, a lot of the problems with off-the-track thoroughbreds stem from isolation rather than being part of a herd. It's interesting, in the UK, they are herd bound. Have you done anything different from an enrichment point of view with Crunchie? So what is he like to be stabled? Is he okay?
Yeah, he is actually, because when I first got him, because it was August and it was so hot last year, wasn't it? Although it's pretty hot today. But I just turned him straight out and just let him live out for a good month. And then if there was the odd day, I'd bring, like if it was pouring of rain or whatever, I'd bring him in. And I remember the first day I put him in the stable, he had a big feed, something to distract him. And then as I was leaving, I was watching him from the car, and he was a bit kind of looking around, like, where am I? But he's absolutely fine, actually. Like now, I think his first couple of days was a bit like this is a new place, but it wasn't because he was stabled necessarily. I think over here in the UK, they are stabled like most of the time, unless they get like 10 minutes of grazing or something. And they're quite lucky that they have the other horses all around the block. So they can see other horses. But no, he's fine. He's not very good. I'm slowly teaching him. Like I put Storm out first after their dinner or their breakfast, and I'd make him wait 5 minutes whilst I do a bit of like Storm stable or something, because it's all grates in between now, so he can still see me, and he stands by the grates watching me, and I'm like, we'll go in a minute, Crunchie. But he's slowly getting slightly better on his own, which is quite nice. But I mean, it's only literally me up there at my yard, so I haven't got like other horses to keep him company, sadly, but he's getting used to it, so it's just yeah.
Good, yeah. I think from my side, Reg just has he's a really bad crib biter. So that's obviously that's advice that he has acquired in his racing life. And I'm used to it now, and speaking to the vets and everything else, they're kind of like, just let him do it. There's no point trying to stop him. He's become inherently has this behavior problem now. He's not got ulcers, he's been checked for everything. It's just an issue that he has, and he'll do it. The only downside I have with it is he'll do it in the field, so he'd rather crib than eat. So Reg's weight's a bit of a problem, so we have to constantly keep feeding him up and making sure that his stable door's gone. He's took the metal off. He's took the farm owner came down and he's like, he took the metal off that door. And I'm like, yeah, he's just pulled it off, and he literally just has cribbed it all off. So
it's difficult, isn't it? Because they always say like crib biting, you should just let them do it, because it's just what they want to do. But Crunchie does this weird burping thing. So if anyone else has ever heard, like, it's not a crib bite. He doesn't grab onto anything. He doesn't even like suck his neck here, but he just burps, but not an actual burp, obviously, because horses apparently can't burp. But it's this weird, like almost like a gulp of air, but it's not wind sucking. He does it when he's nervous. But
Reg does make a funny noise when he's in like times of stress.
I think it's like a very mild form of crib biting / wind sucking, but he doesn't grab onto anything, but he just kind of goes
yeah, it's like a funny noise, isn't it? Do you know what they say, Emma, though? They say that they're the more intelligent thoroughbreds.
Oh, well, there you go then.
Just stop it out there. The ones that crib and things. Yeah, because they've been in the isolation and they have to find their own, because they've got an active brain, they find their own entertainment.
Yeah.
Look, because Mo has never been in the racing, well, he has, bless him, he kind of looks at Reg going, what are you doing, mate? Do you want to leave the fence post and come and eat some grass?
That's good though, they haven't picked up on it, because some horses pick up on other horses' habits, don't they? But
did they? So that was the other debate I was going to say. Do you think that, because somebody said to me, Reg will teach Mo to crib bite, touch wood, he hasn't.
I mean, I think probably, like, because it's weird that lots of racers do it, but as you say, it's like a coping mechanism, isn't it? I think like the weaving thing's the same. I think horses maybe pick up weaving probably more than crib biting, but I mean, it's a good thing Mo hasn't picked up on it anyway. But I don't know if they do pick up, as they say, don't they?
Yeah, somebody said to me, just be careful that Mo doesn't pick up on it, and Mo's too interested in the food. He's different, even though they both my ex-racers have the same mother, so they are. Oh, someone's gonna tell me crib biting is. Cribbing isn't a learnt behaviour, but a form they picked up from. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's all right. I feel
Yeah,
I feel he's older than a
Mo's
yeah.
mum must have been a good girl then, not teaching him anything.
I think, yeah, I don't think it came from his mom. Yeah, so they have the same mother but different dads. So they look very similar, which is how I got blooming Mo, because I ended up talking to the breeder, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, Mo came up for rehome.
Why didn't Mo make it into training then?
Oh, so confirmationally, he wasn't signed off as fit to race.
Aww.
You might think, oh, that's interesting. So
How come?
his back is too short, apparently. So when he went through vet check, I didn't realise this with the race. You learn all kinds of different things, but they go through a vet checking procedure before they go into race training to make sure that they are fit to race and everything else. His back was too short, which would eventually, in time, put too much pressure on his tendons if he went to the racing world. So the vet,
he's quite tall, isn't he?
17 hands is just measured in at. Yeah.
For another inch as well.
He's massive. He's absolutely huge. So the vet would say it was cruel to put him into the racing world. So he came up for rehome. So we'll see. We don't know yet whether that will affect him in the realm we want to do it, but he's kind of stuck with me for life anyway. So if he doesn't want to event, we'll find.
Yeah, and like I think because you're not getting on him as a 2 or a 3-year-old like they do in the racing world, you're going to take it slow anyway, like any other horse. Like there's loads of horses out there that are lanky or short backed or whatever, and they seem okay. So
yeah,
take it as it comes.
I think it's interesting that what they do classes fit to race and what they don't. Yeah,
he's
big. He's more heavier set than Reg. Reg is like a little. If you ever meet Reg is like a pony with long legs. I always think he's quite.
That's what Crunchie's like. Crunchie's very fine. Yeah. He's strong. He's strong, but he's really small looking. I think he's just 16 hands, and it doesn't help that I'm like 5'9" and extremely lanky. So
It's
very long limbs. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Somebody's put, is it just me, or do people find that the bigger TBs are more spooky? Mo's is the bigger TB of mine, and I would say yes. He's definitely more.
To be fair, I rode one for a friend before I got Crunchie actually, and he was about 17 hands, and he was horrible to hack. He wasn't a very nice horse. Even she rescued him as a 6-year-old, and the race yard hated him. He was aggressive, and he was a bit. I think he had some behavior problems, but she made him like a really nice horse, but she just couldn't hack him because it's so dangerous. And the worst bit is where her yard was, the only way to get to hacking was to go over a motorway bridge. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. And like, I hadn't ridden because Patsy gone back to her owners. I just wanted something to ride. I was like, oh, I'll ride him for you. I'll take him out hacking. And going over this bridge, honestly, I was like, I just saw my life like flash by before my eyes. I had this vision of him just like bolting, like leaping over the bridge into the road. But weirdly, he was fine over that. But anything on like the countryside, like a rabbit jumping out the hedge, like life and death situation.
That's crazy. It's crazy what they will spook at and what they won't. We've got to go over a bridge as well. Reg is not bothered, but we'll see with Morzini whether he is.
Oh, it scares me. I don't like them.
I don't like that. I think that's more mentally, isn't it? Because I always think you're over the height of the bridge.
Yeah.
You're looking down onto the M18. It's not a good view all the time. But by 18 TV. I thought Mo was big. That's impressive. That is impressive. What do you do? Do you do any eventing or anything with him? I'm intrigued. Fits into the same rug as my 16 hands. He's extremely short back. Is he okay? And what? Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear. It's funny how different rugs fit them all.
I bet they won't this year. Last year, I had interchangeable rugs. They fit both the boys, but I think Mo's expands
out now. Especially as he starts muscling up when you ride him. He'll probably need like a extra big rug.
I think when Reg Kim was 5'9", he was like tiny. I mean, I think we was up to 6'3" by the end of.
Yeah, that's what we're on, 6'3". But he is definitely filling out though, Crunch. Like compared, like looking back at photos when I first got him, and he literally looks like a 12. If you didn't know how big he was, you'd think he's a 12'2" pony. Like he looks hilarious in the first few photos.
He's 16.
I think he's 16 hands. Like I haven't measured him for a long time. I might have to get a measuring stick, but yeah, he's filling out as well. And he's very naturally round, which is not necessarily a good thing that he rides over round, but it's better, I guess, than going around like a giraffe. So he's building his neck muscle up quite quickly, actually, which is quite nice. But yeah, he's just a funny guy.
I love him. it's coming up as Scab's iPhone that I'm talking to. Really sad. I don't even know that. He ran the national 3 years ago, but refuses to jump anything.
Oh my God.
How funny.
Is that now?
Yeah, I was told that my xray said wouldn't jump then, and he's flying at the minute. So perseverance.
Yeah, it's perseverance.
So Callie says, how are you keeping the TB's mind occupied? How does the work vary? What is a standard week training schedule for you? I struggle to think of different ideas. Give me a standard week.
So obviously I reckon mine will vary from yours, especially with Reg, because he's a bit older and you're doing more jumping and fitness work and everything. But for Crunch, as a 4-year-old, sort of straight off the track, straight from training, I give him 2 days off a week just because he's young, and then we probably try and school 3 times a week and hack 2 days a week, but the schooling isn't intense. It's literally just like, right, we'll go and do 20 minutes to half an hour with a lot of kind of, well, we try and do loose work at the beginning, because sometimes we have the sweeps and the jumps. So it's like a little bit of schooling. It's just teaching him like something small every day. And then there's hacking, really, just confidence building and fitness building and sort of building the muscles up and getting him out to see the world, really. So, and then, I mean, if I ever have a day where I'm like, I just can't be bothered, then I also think it's not going to kill him to have an extra day off in the week, because we're not doing much at the moment. So, yeah.
I think it's important. I sometimes feel guilty with that.
Yeah, same.
Okay, to have a day off, isn't it? To have an extra day off, it's not gonna affect them massively.
No. For like a 5-star eventer that has this regime you have to stick to, like you're not gonna, nothing's gonna happen from them having a day off. And sometimes we need it. Like, we work so blooming hard for them, and sometimes you just need a rest.
You do, yeah. So I do. My schedule with Mo, it's probably a little bit less at the minute than yours. So he will work 3 to 4 times in the week, and he's doing the odd hack for 20 minutes. Yeah. Schooling session, and the schooling session is walk, trot. We're just trying to get the steering, because that's not there yet. With Reg is on a more stricter schedule, because obviously we're trying to get him to eventing, so he will have 1 day off at the minute, and then he'd have a mixture of schooling, fitness work, which will include hacking and hill work. What else do I do? Jumping. Lots of shizzle that boy does. Try and keep his brain occupied. I tell you what, with Mo, he was so tired after that desensitization session. When he got so many things.
It's the brains, isn't it? Thinking.
Definitely.
They're such clever animals with thoroughbreds. I mean, all the horses are, but I think the thoroughbreds especially, they do really take everything in. And if you give them something to think about, they're just like, oh, that was a lot.
He was shy. At the end of the session, he was like yawning away, and they're like, oh, he's so tired. And I think it just blew his mind.
Oh, he did very well though.
He was a good boy. So I've got 8 TBs in my field, and I have a small tyre jump. They will all jump it freely except him. Maybe he's kind of like, I've done the national. What more is there to do? That I'm not. He's reached the top. He doesn't need to do anymore.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But
yeah, and Carly feels massively guilty, so I'm pleased it's not. I always have this non-riding guilt. I've got to get into my head. It's okay. We can have a day off.
Or especially like if you've planned to ride on the day and then something gets in the way, like, I don't know, whatever gets in the way, but you're just like, you can't ride. You're like, oh, like, I'm so annoyed because I planned to do it, and now the horse is going to get ridden. He's going to be mental tomorrow. And like, it literally doesn't really ever affect them. So, and they don't care.
Do you think with Crunch then, does it matter how many days off he has? Does it become, say if you gave him like 3 days off, is he worse than if he has 1 day off to get back on?
I think, yeah, he's not the thing is with him, like, when I always put the funny videos of him squeaking and everything, it's like this morning, for example, he schooled for 15 minutes in like quite a slothful trot, and I was like, come on, like, get some energy. And it wasn't until I started doing the cantering and then all the little like things like the tractor and everything, like, set him off. Like, he's not actually nutty every time I ride him, but it definitely, if he had 3 days off in a row, like, I would notice a difference. But not necessarily like, oh, I guess I think, oh god, like, he's trying to buck the moment I sit on him, but there's just definitely a bit more like spice about the equation. But yeah, and I just think, and just as you say, like, just mentally, like, he's just calm. Even on the ground, he's like a nicer horse, like, not so fidgety. Like, yeah, it just makes him just more chilled in general, I think, just having that continuous sort of work and like the odd day off and everything. And yeah, they like routine, don't they?
Massively. I think when you hear of these thoroughbreds, and don't, like, they're not all the same, but a lot of the thoroughbreds that are crazy and things like that, it's lack of routine. I think it's a lack of work. It's most of the thoroughbreds I've met don't do well as field ornaments. They enjoy a job. They're bred for that. They enjoy going out there and doing something. So yeah, I think the more work you do with them, because Mo can be a little bit, after 2 days off, he's sharp.
I think even if you like just a bit of groundwork, if you haven't got time for riding or you can't bother to ride, just taking them in the school and doing like just stuff, walking them in hand over poles, just even for 10 minutes, just gives that they feel like they've just done something of their day. I don't know, but it seems to work with Crunchie anyway.
I think that's a really good idea. I think with Mo, I've kind of like just walked him out sometimes. Don't have to get on him. Just walked him to see, because we've got quite a lot of paddocks with quite like running the gauntlet, and there's loads of horses in paddocks, and they can all set off at once, which is great. But yeah, just taking through there can just occupy his mind, can't it? So yeah, you're right. It's just getting them to focus. So yeah, that was any more questions, because we're nearly at our time slot. That's gone very quick.
It has gone really quick. It's so nice to meet you properly as well, Shelley. Always chatting.
First of many, I keep saying we'll have to have kind of like an Insta meetup somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Or like we'll meet at Burley or Badminton or somewhere, and
when we qualify.
Yeah, when we go to grassroots.
We keep Burley. Yeah, when we get to Badminton 90, then I'll get the prosecco. So always finish. If nobody else has got any more questions, I always finish by asking you, what's the best piece of advice anybody's ever given you?
Oh, do you know what? Actually, it's funny you asked that, because the girl I went and had the lesson with, she said, I think in terms of horses, the best advice is to work really, really hard at like the low levels. And the small things, like just getting your walk, trot and canter right, and your steering right, and the circles right, and all the small things that are the boring stuff. If you get that right, and even just jumping like round a course of 80, if you nail that and get that perfect, you'll go up the levels much quicker. And like, to be fair, I do think that's correct. But I keep getting very like impatient, so thinking like, oh, another day of just walk and trot and doing another circle and back to serpentines and back to walk. But actually, although we still have our moments, that is paying off. I think obviously there are horses that you can just get on and go and you're amazing, but I think some people rush it and you end up sort of frying their brains, and it takes a lot longer to reverse that damage. But if you work at the low level is really, really hard, and you'll climb up the higher ones quicker. That's my advice.
I think that is sound advice, absolutely, because somebody else once said to me, it's harder to unpick problems than it is to never create them in the first place, isn't it? I've just noticed somebody would put some advice for us on here. Don't look down, or that's where you'll end up. I have a problem with this. I keep looking down. If you see any of my photos, I'm looking at the plumbing ground, and I need to look up.
Oh, see, I used to, but I had a lesson where I was told, this is years ago, she says, you like say turn right to your next fence, say the fence is coming up like even 6 strides away, start looking over there at your next fence and don't take your eyes off that fence. And it took me like, I kept looking at it, she's like, no, like come around again, look at your next fence, but jump that one. And since then I've always been very good at like looking for my next fence, but it took me a long time. I
need to look that. I'm worse cross country than I am show jumping.
Well, they're scary big fences, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh shoot. Ride like you're sitting on your back pockets, like jeans you have. Yeah, I've been told that recently as well, to sit on my horse face more in my canter. It improves. Yeah, at what core? I'm having to learn this as well. All these problems here, my instructors are saying basics are the hardest work, hard on them, and the rest will fall into place. Absolutely, I think that's great advice. I think it's getting the basics and the groundwork right. Yeah. Everything else just becomes easier then, doesn't it? Moving up the level is easier because they understand.
And it's hard to tell yourself sometimes that, but one of the biggest, I think the best exercises I do is bringing the horse back to walk, making them turn on their haunches, walking on, turning haunches, walking on. And that's yesterday what I did before I did this cantering, because it really engages their back end. But when you're doing it at the time, like especially Crunchie, he's like, I'm not really sure what you're asking. So it takes about 2 minutes to put your leg on, and then we finally move round. And he starts to get it. And then I moved on into walk on the trot, and he got the canter transition because he was sat back on himself and actually got it. But it's so those kind of exercises are boring at the time because you're like, oh, it's so slow and it's taking forever. But once you get it, it's just the little things, and then yeah, things will come.
They definitely will. And also, I meant to say congratulations on. So Emma has recently been awarded the bursary for the wild card of Country and Stable, which I was so happy that you kind of got that. So well done.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I didn't expect to even get to the final like 3 because they had all the different categories. I nearly entered the eventing one, but I was like, actually, I've done no eventing yet, so hence why I entered the wild card, because goodness knows what Crunchie's going to end up doing. But yeah, and I got to the final 3 and everyone voted for me, which was very kind of them. And yeah, so hopefully we'll have a bit of help to sort of get going this year. But yeah, it's exciting.
It really is. They can obviously see the potential in your absolutely. I think we'll have a conversation next year, and this is going to be a totally different one. You won't be just turning on haunches and walking around. You'll be like, oh yeah, we did this and we've done that.
Yeah, down the centre line.
Yeah, we've just kind of passage across there. You'll be amazing. But no, thank you ever so much for agreeing to have a little chat with me, talking all things space. It's great to kind of give the positive vibe out there that they are amazing breed to have, thoroughbreds, and they are so versatile. Yes, I think we'll agree they're cheap to buy, they're not cheap to keep.
No, I think unless you've got tons and tons of acres of grazing in the summer, you're okay, but the winter you just got to keep feeding them.
A constant money pit.
Yeah,
but
farrier.
Oh, my farrier hates me. He's just ignoring my calls. My horse throws shoes like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, thank you so much. And I hope we can kind of revisit. Oh, Elise is coming in, but it's a little bit late. I hope that we can revisit in a year's time and see, what you got up to. And
yeah, definitely. Well, it'd be nice
live from badminton. That's where we might be.
Yeah, maybe. Or I'll come and cheer you on at least. I'll have the cheesy chips at the end.
Yeah. We'll have the chips. That's probably the reason we're going for. But no, thanks guys ever so much for tuning in. And yeah, we're next week. It's all show jumping next week. So thank you very much, Emma, and so lovely to finally meet you.
Yeah, it's so nice. Thanks, Jelly.
This journey. I will put the link on my stories and on the Vibe stories. So yeah, give her a follow and you can see the wonderful boy that Crunchie is.